Hey everybody, Andy here. Your favorite career insiders here to bring you some inside scoop. Today we're going to be talking about employer ghosting, something that's reached epidemic levels. Not the only pandemic thing going around in the world these days, but I'm here to help you build a career you love every Thursday, or maybe you're watching this on a Tuesday. Welcome if you're here with me live. I see some folks already here. Carlos, Deb, Adam, Jamor, Taya, Forthesis, and everybody else from around the world. Great to have you. Got a good one in store for you today. Like I said, on employer ghosting. Maybe you've been ghosted, maybe you haven't, maybe you thought you were, maybe you weren't, maybe you didn't know you were. Whatever it was, I'm going to break it all down for you today. One thing I want to do, I want to start this out real fast. I want to engage you right away because I have thought of over a dozen, I think 14 or 15 scenarios in which you can get ghosted, and I'm going to break those down. But I would love for you to go in the chat right now. After you say your hello, can you please tell me in the chat, and I'll pull it up here in a few seconds. I know we're on a little bit of a delay. I'm going to go in and break down the talk for you today and tell you what's in store. While I'm doing that, can you go in the chat and tell me how you've been ghosted? I emailed the corporate recruiter. They emailed me, I emailed them back. I never heard from them. I had a phone screen with them. They never called me back. I was in an interview process. They never called me back. Whatever it is, I was talking to an executive recruiter who I seemed to really hit it off with and then never heard from her or him. So let me know, go in the chat, tell me what's what, and here's what's in store today. So I know this is becoming a real problem. I get a lot of questions about it. I kind of chuckle at the whole ghosting word, but I totally know what you mean, and it stinks. And it's really, it is frustrating, and I do think employers can do a lot better job, and even by their own admission through surveys we run and surveys I've seen, that they feel like they're not doing a great job communicating with you. Now, I have thought about different ways the corporate recruiters, executive recruiters, bosses you might have been engaged with, or HR people, how many different ways they can ghost you. And I'd like to tell you what I think is happening behind the scenes in each of these scenarios. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my thoughts on it and what I think of it all. And then I'm going to tell you how to, I'm sure you're wondering, how can I prevent something like this from happening? And if it does happen to me, how should I react? What should I do? I'll break that all down. So let me see who's been in the chat telling me. I mean, how have we been ghosted? No responses from Boss Hunt. Recruiters are the worst. Let me see if I can pull some of these up. Please get in there and let me know, kind of where you are. I'm reading up. Recruiters are the worst. Hiring managers are much better and ghost much less. Let's see, no responses from Boss Hunting. Adam Stark said they wanted an interview and didn't get back to me. Let me see, what do we got here? I know I'm doing this real time. Isn't live TV fun? Who else has been ghosted? Well, hey ICM, how are you? Recruiters treat you like tissue paper. Avoiding at all costs. Come on, that's terrible. Jamor, my daughter works in HR. She said they are too busy to reply to the overwhelming amounts of apps. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into next week. I love that. Had a second round interview. Janky, I believe it went great. I follow up. Thank you email. Never heard back. I get why they ghost, but I don't think it's acceptable. That's true because it just isn't. But D-City, primarily by recruiters. Okay, so you guys get this, right? So this stuff happens. So let me tell you what's what. All right, got my note cards today, and I had to put multiple things on each card. Otherwise, this stack of cards would have been about this thick because we know that's how bad ghosting is. All right, so let's go through these, and I got one to start with, and because I like to be complete, right? The A.T.S is not a ghoster. It does not ghost. It's a stupid box and a machine. And if you put your resume in there and you don't hear anything back, they are not ghosting you. You have a very, very low likelihood of getting an interview if you go through the applicant trashing system, my endearing name for it. The applicant tracking system, which is what most employers call it. I call it the applicant trashing system. But when you go in there, you have a very, very low percentage. And to give you a statistical number, you probably have about, if you are in the kind of the lower to mid levels and you are putting your resume into the applicant tracking system, you probably have somewhere on the order of a 2 to 4% chance of being seen. That doesn't mean you're going to get an interview. So some small fraction thereof actually get an interview. So let's call it less than 1% actually filter through. If you're a more senior person, the percentage drops of you being seen. They don't usually farm those ATSs for very senior positions. Yes, it can happen. Of course it can happen. But the percentage is super low. So if you're putting your resume in the applicant trashing system and you're not getting seen, that's why. All right, now let's talk about, I thought of about 7 different ways to give this talk. I'm gonna take you through the scenarios of what I think, how you can be ghosted. I'm gonna tell you what's happening. Then I'm gonna tell you what I would do about these. So just to make it easy on me. All right, corporate recruiters. Now, here's the scenario. We're just talking about corporate recruiters. Someone who actually works for an employer, the company, they have the same business card, right? I work for company XYZ. We're hiring you for company XYZ. The corporate recruiter emails you, LinkedIn messages you, emails you directly, replies to your application, or whatever. Okay, this is the scenario. Okay, you get back to them. In the meantime, things happen. Even if you got back to them within 3 seconds, you don't know what has been going on up until the time they emailed you. So one of the scenarios is they got their pipeline full. Now what happens when I say pipeline full, I'm talking about candidate pipeline. I'm a recruiter. My boss Andy says, hey, would you go out and find me some salespeople? That's one of my hiring officials. I probably have a few others. I go out and I try to email people or call people who are salespeople. They get back to me. What happens is I'm working that and I'm trying to get candidates in over to the hiring official. And what happens is you got to remember, recruiters are doing this. Right? They got Andy yelling at them. Kara's probably hiring somebody for the ops team. Stacy wants somebody for the marketing team. They've got all these different searches that they're doing internally. Once they get some motion on one, it drops to the bottom and then they wait to see how it plays out. And then they start focusing their attention on filling the pipeline for the other positions. So you don't know when you got emailed where they were in the process. Maybe somebody replied to them. They set an interview up. They had a phone screen earlier that day. They liked that person. They decided, hey, I got 3 people in the process. I'm going to hold now. I'm not going to get back to that nice person who I emailed who got back to me 5 minutes later. Okay, so that can happen. And then the second scenario is they either filled the position or it's close to being filled. I'm not going to burn a lot of time getting back to you. It would be nice for me to get back to you and say the position is about to be filled, but I don't want to do that because I don't want you to mentally check out. So they think maybe incorrectly that it's better not to say anything to you, see how it plays out, and then what a lot of them do is they completely ignore you, which is really dumb. Because what I would do, if I emailed you and you got back to me and I was filling the position or about to fill the position or fill the position, I would get back to you and I would say, thank you so much. I would love to I would love to connect with you, but at the moment we just filled that position and now I'm going to do one of a couple things. I'm going to think about, hey, can you fill any other positions? Or might we just stay connected? Let's get connected on LinkedIn or whatever, or I'll keep your credentials, but in some form or fashion, they should be communicating to you. So I'll try to sprinkle in some of my sentiment of what I think is reasonable for you to expect in situations. But remember, again, not everybody is a well-adjusted adult like you and I are, so not everybody processes the world the same way. Okay? And then the other thing is they might have found out that the position was on hold. This can happen. You get it. Andy goes back to them and says, hang on, we rearranged the budget. And so I want to push that position to next quarter. It can happen. All right, now how about this? You get into the screen process, or you've gotten screened. You're screened with the corporate recruiter, or you screened with the corporate recruiter, you went on and got into the interview process, and all of a sudden it's dead silence. Now, I wanna differentiate ghosting, meaning I'm never gonna get back to you, versus hang on, I told you it's gonna be a week or so and I'm working the process and you're not paying attention, okay? But let's just say, sake of argument, that all these scenarios I'm talking about is they're never getting back to you, okay? You got in the interview process, you didn't pass. Or I got others and I still need to screen them, okay? So you're not officially ghosted yet. I just haven't gotten through the pack of people that I need to. Now, the best recruiters say, hey, Joe, this is great. I really enjoyed talking with you. I've got a number of interviews lined up over the next couple of weeks, or the boss wants me to talk to 10 people before I pick a couple. I want to let you know it's going to take me a couple weeks. If you make it through, I will circle back, or I will circle back no matter what. That's what they should be doing. That's not what they always do. Or they filled the position, or it got put on hold, or Andy's out on a long vacation. That's never gonna happen. I never go on any long vacations. But you know what I mean, right? So these are the kind of things that occur. Now, they should be in touch with you, but they don't always. But this is usually the high probability of what's actually happening. Now, I don't think a lot of these are blowing you away just yet. There's gonna be a lot of these that I think are fairly common sense, and you probably have guessed at some of these, but I think some of these might surprise you as we get into some of the other ones. All right, this one, I don't know what to say, but what the hell, right? If they actually give you an offer, they could ghost you after they give you an offer. This has happened. It doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen. All right, here's what's likely happening. They decided to put it on hold, and they were so terrible that they didn't get back to you to let you know. Or someone else took the job, and again, they were not nice human beings and didn't get back to you. Or there were extenuating circumstances, something happened. We had a situation where one of my boot campers, one of the folks, Keith, in my job search coaching program, he actually had a situation where, you know, they were trying to extend an offer, and then the hiring official left or something like that, and they're trying to figure out what to do, and this went on for several weeks. It went on for several weeks, and it was with a startup. And so this stuff can happen. They actually called him back. He actually got the job, which was really great, but still a rough go. But this does happen rarely. Now, that's mostly what happens internally with corporations. So, right, you didn't pass, or we decided to put the thing on hold, or there were some extenuating circumstances. Now, executive recruiters are a bit different. Now, I wanna start off with something that isn't even ghosting, but a lot of you complain about it. You say, well, hey, I reached out to this executive recruiter, and I know they're recruiting for these positions, or they recruit for these types of positions, or they're recruiting for this position at this company. I somehow found that out. And the executive recruiter is not getting back to me. I emailed them, but no response. How many people think this is a thing? Because I want to be really clear about executive recruiters. Just because they have the word recruiter in their name does not mean they find jobs for people. They don't do that. That's not their job. An executive recruiter, a true executive recruiter, is an independent individual or works for an independent third-party company that has been contracted by a company. They find people for jobs. The jobs they find them for are the ones they're under contract to pursue. Their priorities are built and designed based on the clients they have and the urgency of those positions the clients have. They are constantly being rearranged by the companies they're working on behalf of. If you are reaching into them, the chance that you are threading the needle, meaning you are exactly what they need at the time they need it, and you fit all the parameters, meaning you have all the right skills, the right comp, the right this or that, and you fit and you're culturally sound and all that other stuff, is almost nil. Okay, that's why contacting and chasing executive recruiters is one huge waste of time. It really is. This is not ghosting. This is just flat out not smart job searching on your part. Okay, so I want to be really clear. All right, now, what about when they email you. Okay, this Andy Nice executive recruiter guy looks like he's got it going on. He sent me an email, I replied, and I didn't hear back from him. So, number one, and likely the most, part A, the most likely scenario is that Andy guy never saw your background and somebody not named Andy, who's a researcher, sent you a message on LinkedIn. This is what happens. So a lot of times, somebody like me, although we don't do this, but there are people out there that are executive recruiters who have nice profiles, and they have a researcher using their LinkedIn account. They send you an email, and the researcher is doing a couple of things or is handicapped in a manner that the executive recruiter probably is not. My eye will be better at looking at profiles and detecting because I have a lot more years of wisdom, experience, trial and error, and I can probably tell your personality based on what you wrote on your LinkedIn profile and whether you're gonna fit. But the researcher doesn't have those years of experience, so the researcher is using a machine gun to reach out to anybody who has the keywords in their background. What happens is the executive recruiter says, yeah, you go ahead and you do that. The researcher goes out, they're contacting hundreds of people every day. Some of those people are getting back to them, and then the recruiter says, okay, who got back to you? Let me see their profiles, right? Because I don't want to have to look at all these profiles. I just want to look at the ones you think. Well, this person got back to me. No, not a fit. Forget that one. Okay, you will likely just get ghosted. Just because I never saw your background, some researcher sent you a message, you replied thinking you were replying to me. I then looked at your background. That could have happened. Or you got back to me through the researcher who's monitoring my LinkedIn account, and I'm working with my client, and the client says, Andy, that's not as important a search, or we're about to fill that, or whatever, we're gonna change it. I want you focusing your time over here. Okay, so that could happen too. So that can happen. Or I did actually send you the message, Andy did, but on second thought, when you got back to me and I took a closer look at your background, I decided you weren't a fit, and I'm an ignorant guy and didn't reply back and connect with you. Or I'm finding other people that got back to me in the meantime, just like a corporate recruiter. I filled my pipeline and now I'm on to another search, and I'm not getting back to all the people who got back to me. I'm not saying this is a good practice. I'm saying this is what they do, okay? Or the client held the position, D, client held. Andy, that's not as important. I need you to focus over on this. And even if you send me somebody, we're not gonna be able to interview them because all those people are out of town for 2 weeks at some conference. Okay, fine. Or I'm waiting to fill it, meaning, all right, I'm in motion, the researcher contacted you or I contacted you, you got back to me, and it doesn't matter how many candidates I have, the one I have that's in there is about to get an offer. I'm not about to spend a lot of time with people. I want to see what happens here first. It's a cost benefit, it's a risk reward thing. How do I want to break my time down? Okay, so that happens. They don't get back to you. Okay, it's not a great practice, but that's what's happening behind the scenes. How many of you know that? How many of you get that you're getting emails from people that aren't actually the people you're getting emails? Show me a hey, or was that surprising to you? Yeah, I'm surprised. No, that doesn't surprise me. Yes, I never thought of that, or whatever. But these are the kind of things that happen and you don't know why. You think, well, I just got back to him the next day. Right. The researcher was looking at your profile and the executive recruiter filtered you out based on what they thought. Okay? Or you and the executive recruiter spoke. You actually spoke. Okay, now what happens? I decide you're not a fit, but I don't tell you. I filled my pipeline and I didn't tell you. Okay, meaning, all right, you're a good guy or you're a good gal, but I got a couple others and I want to see how this works out. Or the client changed their mind and said, no, put that position on hold. Or again, I'm about to fill it. You get the idea. You get the idea. Okay, so you're talking about the researcher thing. That makes sense. I figured that. I knew this. You might have heard me say it before. Just learned, Elizabeth, great to hear you learned something new. That was news to me. I would imagine that it doesn't surprise a lot of you, but it's probably not what's going through your head, right? You're looking at, it's like, what do they call that thing? Catfishing or something like that. It's maybe not in such a negative, connotation, but it's something like that, right? All right, how about this? hey, you talk to the executive recruiter. The executive recruiter says, I'm going to present you to my client. All right, what can happen? Well, the client can say no, but the executive recruiter in all circumstances should get back to you and let you know. But they might not. They might get busy. They might not care. Or the client says, hold on, I'm not sure about that person. Just, either hang tight. And what the executive recruiter does not want to do when the client says this is they do not want to go back to you and say, hey, Harry, you know what? I talked to my client. They weren't 100% sure. What's going to be going through your mind if the recruiter says that? Now, I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I think that they should call you. I would always call somebody back and say, this was the feedback, and then I would try to get them to look at it on the bright side or hang tight or just say, hey, look, sometimes you can get better by just standing still. If I, as an executive recruiter, believed in you enough to present you to my client, you could be damn sure that I believe you fit the position. Okay? So I'm going to try to explain to you how I would look at it in the right light, meaning, hang on. As this search goes on, if they just want to push you to the side, you might start looking a lot better based on what? As time drags on, or some of these other people that I find that might not even have some of the goods you do. So this stuff can happen, but the executive recruiters are not communicating back to you and you think you got ghosted and they're not sure what to say. It's a sign of a poor recruiter, but it happens, right? So I'm just trying to explain to you what's going on. Or the client changed their mind. Now, that person, the executive recruiter, should get back to you no matter what. 100% of the time, when you hit this stage, the presentation stage of an executive recruiter's interaction with their client, they should get back to you. You should expect them to get back and communicate with you. All right, how about this? The executive recruiter presented you and you interviewed with their client and they ghosted you. The client either said no, wants to see more people, in which case they should still communicate, or they change their priorities. This stuff happens. And here to finalize the executive recruiters, maybe you worked with an executive recruiter before. If you worked with the executive recruiter before, maybe they even presented you, maybe you even interviewed with their client and you went through the process and maybe you even got a job with their client. But let's say you didn't. And you're trying to reach back to them, let's say a year later, 6 months later, 2 years later, and they never get back to you. What's happening is you got to go back to the first point I made about executive recruiters, is they work on behalf of companies. At this moment, you are likely not a fit for anything they currently have on their desk. And it's hard for them. You got to remember this. The longer an executive recruiter is in business, the more people they build relationships with, the more people they have calling them on a daily basis of people that they've actually worked with before to present to their clients. Well, the accumulation of all those people calling them each day when they don't have anything for those people now gets tough. I always replied to somebody who I worked with, I want to keep that relationship. And most of the time, I would hop on a 10-minute call with them because I want to see what they're doing and I want to do some networking, right? Kind of thing. So keep that in mind. All right. So far, so good. Jamor, I'm working on fixing all this. I really am. All right, you guys, are you guys enjoying this? If you're enjoying this, click the thumbs up button. Make sure you share it and make sure you subscribe to the station. So that's a little intermission break. Okay, now we got bosses. No ghosting talk would be complete without me talking about bosses for as much as I talk about boss hunting, right? So you're in Andy's community. You know Andy's favorite way to find your new job is through boss hunting. Let's talk about what happens when you're emailing bosses back and forth. All right, Andy, I emailed the boss. They didn't get back to me. All right, that's not really ghosting you, okay? So they never got it. This is the most common one here, B. B is the most common. You're targeting a boss and your skills do not fit what they need. Okay, so you have to thread the needle. Remember, boss hunting works when I need something and you have it. Okay, so I need salespeople and you're a salesperson, but I don't just need salespeople, I need technical salespeople. I don't just need technical salespeople. I need technical salespeople who actually know Salesforce automation. customer relationship management solutions, or whatever, right? Kind of thing. And sometimes their scope of who they're willing to talk to becomes more and more narrow depending on other things too. They could be busy, right? They might not need somebody, although I would argue that salespeople value networking and sales managers value trading out their salespeople for better performers, because then they're going to perform better as a team and then they're going to get more money, and it really works to their advantage. The other thing that occurs is D. They're checking with somebody else. So if you emailed me, so this would happen occasionally where I would run a practice in one of the organizations that I was in, and I would get emails directly sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. And if I would I would always look at the resume. And then if I thought they would be a fit, what I would do is I wouldn't just forward it and say, hey, take a look. I might call Chris or Roger, or whoever my, kind of my counterparts were, and I'd say, hey, I got this resume. What do you think? Because I would do that in the natural course of me getting together. Like, I wouldn't stop what I was doing to call them because I got some unsolicited resume. I knew that, in a week I was going to be on a status call with them, and I'd say, hey, you got 2 minutes after, let me run something by you or something like that. So they might be checking. All right, that's if you email them. Okay, now, what happens if you email them, they email back to you, and then ghost you? Any number of things could have happened, but the two biggies is I got busy or I changed my mind. All right, now, I personally am a long-term thinker, and I would be thinking, okay, hang on. If I got busy, I'd probably let them know, hey, could we reconnect in 30 days, 2 months? This is going to look a lot better come April 1st. I got to get through Q1 or whatever. I probably would do that. Do not sweat this, okay? This is life, all right? And then I have a few comments in general about this and kind of a catch-all. And I want you guys to understand that there were a few other things that didn't fit neatly into the boxes. Number one, and you guys know this, they're just damn disorganized, right? So they're just darn disorganized. So the first thing is companies, corporate recruiters, HR people, I want you to pay attention to their behavior. Because remember this, when you get, and I'm talking about those of you that got into interview processes, okay? When you get in, and by the way, a phone screen with a recruiter is in the interview process, okay? I'm speaking to you, and anybody who's gotten past the recruiter or HR into interviewing with others. Remember this, they're speaking to you by their actions, and technically speaking, I would say greater than 95% of the time, the interviewing process is better than it ever will be working at the company, right? They're trying to put their best foot forward. They're trying to recruit you if they like you. If they're disorganized in the interviewing process, what do you think it's going to be like to work there? It's going to be a lot worse than you think. Okay, so now you need to start questioning, do I even want to work there? The next thing is, this is a big deal. This little point right here, number 2, that you probably don't understand what this says, is the position change, that's delta ED, based on what they saw in the interviewing process, not solely related to you. Let me tell you what I mean. When you get into an interview, we're on productivity month. I've been teaching productivity all month. This is a great analogy. Whenever you put a plan together and you get into the process, once you take step 1, you should reevaluate your plan, not your goal, your plan, your steps to get there, how you might get there, because you know more than you did before you took the first step. And as you get into the process, you know a lot more, okay? Well, when recruiters and hiring officials and other interviewers are interviewing you for a position, they have a going-in position of what that person looks like and what the potential goals are that this person needs to meet, the responsibilities that it's going to take to meet the goals. But sometimes what happens is when you get into the interview process, you or somebody else could have changed who their target was. Sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes it works to your detriment. I had a woman in my boot camp named Karen, who was the first person that this software as a services company interviewed, and she was likely a bit more senior than they were hoping for, and certainly financially, except that when she got in there, what do I always say to you? They couldn't unsee her, right? They had a whole new benchmark for what that position was looking like, except the other people that were entering in, and she was first, entering into the interview process that were wholly qualified, all of a sudden paled in comparison to what she could do. It works the other way. We thought we needed this. I do this a lot. I thought I needed this, but you know what? I could get away with that. I could get away with a lot less. And you know what? I actually don't want to pay what I intended to pay because I actually discovered going through this process, through interviewing and talking to people and maybe talking to other business owners, I might be able to do away with or get away with less. So they changed what they were thinking about or who they were targeting, and you got caught in it, and then they decided that for whatever reason, being a terrible company that they are, there's nothing wrong with changing your mind or changing your plan. That's okay. That's smart. But not calling you is terrible. But this happens. Okay? Then the budget changed. Okay. This budget. Continuing on with the Karen story. Karen made a lot more money than they intended to pay. She goes through this interview process, takes about 2 months. I coached her through it. Presentations, all kinds of stuff. They gave her an offer. We prepped her. I prepped her, said, you need to say this. You need to do this. You need to actually put your foot down and say, I want you to interview more people, kind of thing. We went through this whole thing. And when she made her counter and said, you got to come up with the 70K, and the recruiter who kept telling her, you know, you make 70K more, or whatever it was, said, okay, hang on, we don't want to let you go. So they found the 70K. Well, where'd they get the 70K? They didn't have the 70K. No, they moved 2 positions that they thought they were going to hire in that quarter to the next quarter. So they took the money from 35K from one position, 35K from another, and they gave it to her, right? And they figured it out later. Well, that could happen. That could happen for you. That could happen, and you get, right? You could have been one of the people that they intended to hire, and they decided to put that on hold. Right, so it works many different ways. Now, none of this is excusing them from communicating this to you, except that this is what happens, okay? And then my last one, sick, vacation, they're focusing on their job or whatever, they got busy. This is all messy, okay? That in every situation, no matter what the reason is, they should be communicating with you. Okay, now, you're gonna ask me, or I'm assuming you're gonna ask me, all right, Andy, how do I prevent this from happening? When do I follow up if I can't prevent it? How many times do I follow up? And what do I say? Okay? And what do I always this is backwards, okay? How do I prevent it? When do I follow up? How many times? And what do I say? All right, let's go through that. The Pre-Empt. Communication works. Communication up front. So if I'm going into an interviewing process, I don't care who it is, executive recruiter, corporate recruiter, hiring official, makes no HR person, makes no difference. What do I always tell you? Communicate, be effusive, tell them what you have going on. I'm interviewing with such and such. You're the only people I'm interviewing with. If I start interviewing with somebody else, I'll let you know. In the meantime, can you communicate with me? Who's been through the process? Where are you with other candidates? What does your candidate pipeline look like? I'm a big boy, I'm a big girl. I just want to make sure we're not wasting each other's time. I think we'll all be better served if we're just communicating. I don't mind. If you need to slow it down, you need to speed it up, you let me know. I'll keep you updated on my end. Can you please, just by saying this, you might be like, oh my God, what? This is not hard. Just say it. And just by you saying it, they will know that you're a well-adjusted adult and you could handle it, and they will keep you informed. Better than 50-50 chance of that, just by you communicating with them and letting them know that you're okay no matter what happens. I know you need to do what's best for your company. I hope you respect I need to do what's best for me. If anything happens on my end, I'll let you know. I'd appreciate the same from you, right? Quid pro quo, however you wanna size it up. This works it really works. Trust me. I'm going to be more apt to want to reach out to you if I know I can be straight with you. Okay? So that's the first thing. Now, when to follow up. I can't tell you when to follow up exactly, but I'm going to give you the default and I'm going to tell you what to do in order to know when. Now, first thing is, you don't know if they're ghosting you. You don't know if they missed their deadline. You don't know what's going on unless you're communicating and unless what? You ask the questions. So first thing to do, I don't care if it's, a screen with the recruiter, if it's a first interview with the hiring official. Okay, this is great. What's the next step? Who's going to contact me, and by when are they going to contact me? Why do you need to know this? I don't know when I need to follow up with you. I don't know if you blew a deadline unless I know when you expected to contact me. Andy, I've got, you're first or you're second. I've got 5 more people I need to interview over the next 2 weeks. As soon as I have that done, couple weeks, I'll contact you. Great. What does that mean? You want to adjust you want to calibrate, point 2, you go from there. So if I said 2 weeks, you want to factor in when to contact them based on the variance of how long it was. So what do I mean? If I say 2 weeks, what can happen? A lot can go wrong in 2 weeks, right? I might not have been able to line up everybody. Somebody's schedule might have got moved. The hiring official might have been called away to go out of town on an emergency or whatever, right? Okay, give them a week, 3 weeks, and Friday the following week you contact. If I say, I'm going to call you by the end of the week, it's Monday, I'm going to call you by Friday, okay, that's a 4-day window, right? It's Monday, 4 days, they didn't call you. You don't call them Monday morning, you give them a couple days, say Wednesday. If I say, I'm going to call you tomorrow, and I miss it, by the end of the next day, you can email me. Why? I missed it. That's 100% grace, right? So you have to know this in order to know what's happening. I had somebody on my YouTube channel earlier in the week say, Andy, I had an interview yesterday, morning. I emailed everybody after the interview. I haven't heard from them. Should I email again today? Less than 24 hours, you'd already sent a thank you. No, just let it go. You say, well, Andy, hang on, I just had an interview and I didn't ask that. Give them 7 days or 10 days and then check in. Okay, but let's slide right into the next point because the next 2 points. If you don't know, check in a week or 10 days, and I'll tell you what to say in a second. But I want to tell you how many times I would follow up. Okay, I put as many languages as I could fit on this card. 1 time. Uno, Spanish and Italian. Unis. I even put it in Swahili. Moha. 1 time. 1 time. No amount of you following up again and again and again is going to change the outcome, and no amount of you worrying is ever going to change any outcome in your life. Follow up with them and let it go. Okay, they'll get back to you when they get back to you, or they won't. But you continuing to follow up isn't going to change anything. It's going to make you look desperate, and you don't want to look desperate. You want to look sturdy, like the well-adjusted human being I know you are. Let the grip loosen up a little. 1 time. 1 time. 1 time. I'm going to make a coffee mug with this on it, I'm pretty sure. Okay? 1 time. 2 times is 1 too many. You don't need to follow up 2 times, but let me help you with what I would say in the 1 time you follow up. That was great. I'm interested. I'm interested. You see this blue button, call to action? Every time you are in a situation where you are sending an employer something, the best way for you to get a response is to ask them for something to respond to. Okay? So what do I mean? Well, when you verbally say, Andy, this is great, who's going to contact me by when and what's next and all that stuff, that's a call to action right there. Now you know. But let's say, well, Andy, I didn't ask him that. I just sent the thank you template like you showed me to. I was okay, fine, right? You went to the interview. I would advise you initially to go kick the butt in the interview. While you're in the interview, you ask the person those questions, those 3 questions. If the person shut the phone, shut the camera, hung up on you, walked out, raced out, said, I just work here, I don't know. When you send the recruiter a message that says, hey, I had a great time meeting Susie, I'd love to know what would be the next step, by when, and so on and so forth. That's a call to action. Okay, now you're gonna say, well, Andy, hang on. I sent the thank you email and I sent it the next day and it's been a week and I haven't heard. What can I do? Okay, now, since I wasn't screaming at you yesterday about the one time I want you to follow up, I'm gonna give you all a grace one, okay? If you followed up with the thank you template and you still haven't heard from them and you're in the interview process, and 7 to 10 days goes by and you don't know how long you're waiting, you can send them a message and say, hey, I thought I would reach in. Had a great session with such and such. It's been 10 days. I wanna let you know I'm greatly interested and wanted to know if you know what the next steps are. Stop. Then, if you don't know what the next steps are, or if you don't know when that'll look, by when do you think you'll know that? Or by when can we reconnect? Or something that requires them to respond. So to an email like that, I would respond to you and say, you know what, Tommy, I'm actually not sure. I'm waiting on, Andy's traveling right now. But I would say, because I don't want to keep going back and forth, Andy's going to be back Thursday. I'm sure he's going to be busy. I will check with him Monday latest. So if you haven't heard from me by Tuesday, hang tight, or you can check in, but I'm going to tell you I haven't talked to him, right, kind of thing. So you have got to prompt them with a call to action that says, by when? What's next? Or something that they need to, if you don't know when, give me a guess. Call to action, okay? All right, and then you're gonna say, well, Andy, but I'm so bummed. I'm gonna say, who cares about them? They don't deserve you. I need you to tattoo this on your body. Who cares? I know, Andy, but I need a job. You don't need that job. You'll be miserable and you'll have to keep showing up to live office hours every week because you hate your job, right? Just think about this. And what else would I always recommend that you do? Feed the damn funnel. This is why, no matter what you have going, if you are actively job searching, meaning I'm not talking about you got a great job and you're kicking tires with a company. I'm talking about, Andy, I am in like all out Andy level job searching. And you guys know, if you don't know, I'm not gonna go into all this. This is now on coffee mugs. It is, and there's even a thing on the back of it that says feed the funnel and what an Andyism is in the definition and everything. But you can have this sit on your desk and look at it and think of me every time that I pull this up, because I wrote this thing out in like December of 2020 and I use it like at every live show I possibly can, because this is the reason why your search takes as long as it does. And it is in alignment with ghosting. When you have a lot of what I call biddas, balls in the air, you're not gonna care. You're not gonna be agonizing over the fact that they said they were gonna get back to you Tuesday and it's now Thursday and you're freaked out. All right, now, I promised myself I would get this in under 45 minutes. I'm 43 minutes in, so I'm not gonna recap all that, but I will say, if you're here with me live, we're gonna go to the chat right now. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week, but please, while you're here, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the like button if you enjoyed this. Share it. There's a lot of people that need help with their job search, and I value you all in my community. So you know I love you all. I'll see you next week.